There are moments in life when everything you thought you knew shatters in an instant. When trust becomes betrayal. When love turns lethal. When the creature you devoted your heart to becomes the thing that stops it forever. Dianna Hanson believed in second chances. She believed wounded souls could heal. She believed that patience, kindness, and understanding could bridge the gap between human and beast. On March 6, 2013, in a sunlit enclosure in rural California, that belief was tested, and in less than 60 seconds, it was destroyed. A 350-pound African lion named Cous Cous, a cat she had fed, cleaned for, and whispered to through chain-link fences, turned on her without warning. There was no roar, no chase, just a blur of golden muscle, the snap of bone, and silence. By the time her colleagues realized something was wrong, Dianna was already gone. This is not a story about a monster. This is a story about a dream that died in the jaws of reality. Dianna Hanson was 24 years old, and she was electric. Not in the loud, attention-seeking way, but in the quiet, undeniable way that people who truly care about something radiate purpose. She grew up in a small town, the kind where everyone knew your name and your business. And from the time she was a little girl, she was obsessed with animals. Not the fluffy, domesticated kind. The wild ones, the dangerous ones, the misunderstood ones. Her bedroom walls were covered with posters of lions, tigers, wolves, and bears. Her bookshelves were crammed with field guides and wildlife documentaries. While other kids dreamed of being pop stars or athletes, Dianna dreamed of walking among predators. She wanted to be Jane Goodall. She wanted to be Dian Fossey. She wanted to matter in a world that was rapidly forgetting how to coexist with nature. And so, she did what dreamers do. She went after it with everything she had. She studied biology in college, spent her weekends volunteering at rescue centers, and worked odd jobs to save money for internships. Her friends called her fearless. Her family called her stubborn. Dianna called it passion. After graduation, she landed an internship at Project Survival's Cat Haven, a private exotic animal sanctuary tucked into the rolling hills of Dunlap, California. It was a 40-acre slice of heaven for big cats who had nowhere else to go. Rescued from circuses, surrendered by owners who thought a tiger would make a good pet, seized from illegal breeders. These weren't zoo animals bred in captivity for public display. These were survivors. Traumatized, unpredictable, and forever marked by their past. And Dianna loved them anyway. She spent her days mucking out enclosures, preparing meals, maintaining fences, and studying behavior. She learned how to read body language, how to move with confidence but never arrogance, how to respect the boundary between admiration and assumption. She knew these animals were not her friends, but she believed they could trust her. She believed she was safe as long as she followed the rules. Cat Haven was a respected facility. It wasn't some roadside zoo with rusted cages and underfed animals. The founder, Dale Anderson, was a veteran in exotic animal care. He had decades of experience and ran a tight operation. Safety protocols were strict. No one entered an enclosure with a big cat inside, ever. Feeding was done through chutes. Cleaning was done only after the animal was locked in a separate holding area. There were emergency radios, tranquilizer guns, and fire extinguishers loaded with pepper spray stationed at every pen. The staff was trained. The animals were monitored. And yet, accidents still whispered through the industry like ghost stories. A trainer mauled in Florida, a keeper killed in Texas, a volunteer savaged in Nevada. Everyone in the field knew the unspoken truth. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. But Dianna didn't think about that. She thought about the beauty, the power, the privilege of being so close to something so magnificent. She posted pictures on social media, smiling beside chain-link fences with lions lounging just feet away. She talked about her work with a kind of reverence that made people believe she had found her calling. And she had. But callings, as it turns out, can be cruel. Cous Cous was a 4.5-year-old male African lion, and he was stunning. His mane was thick and dark, his eyes amber and piercing, his body a solid mass of muscle that rippled beneath tawny fur. He weighed somewhere between 350 and 400 pounds, a young male in his prime. He had been born in captivity, raised by hand in another facility, and transferred to Cat Haven when he was still a cub. In the wild, a lion like Cous Cous would have been forced out of his pride by older males, left to wander and fight and hunt until he could claim a territory of his own. But Cous Cous never had to fight for food, never had to compete for mates, never had to worry about survival. He lived in a spacious enclosure with climbing platforms, shaded areas, and a concrete pool. He was fed regularly, monitored constantly, and admired by visitors who came to see the majesty of a lion up close. On the surface, he seemed calm, docile even. Staff members described him as one of the easier cats. He didn't pace obsessively like some of the tigers. He didn't lunge at the fence like the cougar. He lounged in the sun, yawned at visitors, and ate his meals without fuss. But lions are not pets. They are not gentle, and they are never, ever predictable. Male lions, especially young ones, carry something deep in their DNA that no amount of captivity can erase. Aggression, territoriality, predatory instinct. In the wild, males kill to survive. They kill rival males. They kill cubs that aren't theirs. They kill prey with brutal efficiency. A lion's bite force is over 650 pounds per square inch. Their jaws are designed to crush bone. Their claws can disembowel in a single swipe. And their instinct to dominate, to assert, to attack, is always there, lurking beneath the surface like a coiled spring. Trainers and keepers will tell you that big cats can be managed, but never mastered. You can learn their moods, anticipate their movements, reduce risk, but you can never eliminate it. Cous Cous had never hurt anyone before March 6th, but that didn't mean he wouldn't. It just meant he hadn't yet. The weeks leading up to the attack were unremarkable. Dianna followed her routine. She arrived early, checked in with senior staff, and started her assignments. Cous Cous seemed fine. No behavioral red flags, no signs of aggression, no warnings. But here's the thing about warnings. Sometimes they're invisible, a flick of the tail, a shift in posture, a change in breathing, things only an expert would catch, and even then, not always. Dianna was still an intern. She had been at Cat Haven for only a few months. She was eager, capable, and careful. But she was not an expert. And on that Wednesday morning, she was assigned a task that should have been routine. Clean Cous Cous's enclosure, standard procedure. Lock the lion in the holding area, enter the main pen, rake out waste, hose down surfaces, refill water, and exit. Simple, safe, foolproof. Except that somewhere, somehow, something went wrong. It was a beautiful day. The kind of California afternoon where the sun warms your skin without burning it, and the breeze smells like dry grass and eucalyptus. Dianna grabbed her tools, a rake, a hose, a bucket, and headed toward Cous Cous's enclosure. She radioed in. She checked the lock on the holding pen. She followed protocol, or at least she thought she did. But when she opened the gate and stepped inside, Cous Cous was not locked away. He was right there, in the enclosure, with her. And in that split second when her brain realized the mistake, it was already too late. Lions don't hesitate. They don't think. They react. And Cous Cous reacted the way every apex predator is hardwired to react when something vulnerable enters their space. He attacked. There was no dramatic standoff, no slow circle, no moment where Dianna could back away and call for help. Cous Cous moved like lightning. One moment he was 15 feet away. The next, he was on her. His jaws clamped down on the back of her neck with the force of a car crash. Her skull and spine shattered instantly. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She didn't have time. The lion's teeth punctured through muscle and bone, severing nerves, crushing vertebrae, cutting off every signal between her brain and her body. Dianna Hanson was dead before she hit the ground. Cous Cous didn't maul her out of rage. He didn't tear her apart in a frenzy. He did what lions do. He delivered a killing bite, swift and efficient, the same way he would take down a zebra or a wildebeest. And then he stood over her, mouth stained red, eyes calm, waiting. Another staff member, An experienced keeper named Josie had been working nearby. She heard the commotion, the metallic clang of the gate, the sudden thud of weight hitting dirt. She turned, looked toward Cous Cous's pen, and her blood turned to ice. Through the chain link, she could see the lion standing over something. No, someone. Dianna. Josie screamed into her radio. "Lion attack! Lion attack! Cous Cous's pen! Get here now!" Her voice cracked, shrill with panic, but she didn't run away. She ran toward the enclosure, her mind racing through options. Tranquilizer gun, pepper spray, distraction, anything. But she couldn't go inside. Not with Cous Cous standing there, blood dripping from his muzzle, his body tense and alert. If she opened that gate, he might charge. He might kill her too. So she did the only thing she could. She grabbed the fire extinguisher loaded with pepper spray and blasted it through the fence, aiming for the lion's face. Cous Cous flinched, shook his head, and backed away from Diana's body. Just a few feet. Just enough. And Josie knew this was the only chance they had. Within minutes, the entire staff descended on the scene. Dale Anderson, the sanctuary's founder, arrived with a tranquilizer rifle. His hands were steady, but his face was ashen. He had spent 30 years working with big cats, and this was the nightmare he had always dreaded. He aimed carefully, squeezed the trigger, and the dart hit Cous Cous in the shoulder. The lion roared, a deep guttural sound that rattled the air. And then he staggered. The sedative worked fast. Within seconds, his legs buckled, his massive body crumpled onto the dirt, his breathing slowing to deep rhythmic heaves. He was down. And the moment he was, staff members rushed inside. They knew what they would find, but nothing prepares you for the reality of it. Dianna lay motionless, her body twisted at an unnatural angle, her neck bent grotesquely to one side. Blood pooled beneath her head, dark and thick, soaking into the dry California dirt. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. One of the keepers, a man named Paul, knelt beside her and pressed his fingers to her throat, searching for a pulse he knew wouldn't be there. Nothing. He tried CPR anyway, pumping her chest, breathing into her mouth, willing her heart to start again. But her ribs were crushed. Her spine was severed. There was nothing left to save. The 911 call came in at 12:17 p.m. "We have a lion attack at Cat Haven. Female, mid-20s, unresponsive. The animal has been sedated. We need paramedics now." The dispatcher's voice remained calm, professional, but the urgency was unmistakable. Ambulances, sheriff's deputies, and animal control officers sped toward the remote sanctuary, sirens wailing through the quiet hills. When they arrived, the scene was surreal. A tranquilized lion lying unconscious in a blood-stained enclosure. A young woman's body covered with a blanket. Staff members standing in stunned silence, some weeping, some just staring, unable to process what had happened. The paramedics confirmed what everyone already knew. Dianna Hanson was dead. Cause of death: catastrophic trauma to the head and neck. Time of death approximately 12:15 p.m. The coroner would later describe her injuries as not survivable. The lion had crushed her cervical spine so completely that her spinal cord was severed in multiple places. Death had been instantaneous. If there was any mercy in this tragedy, it was that Dianna did not suffer. She did not feel the teeth sink in. She did not feel her body go limp. One moment she was alive, and the next she was gone. The investigation began immediately. How did this happen? How did Dianna end up in an enclosure with a fully grown male lion? Cat Haven's protocols were clear. The lion should have been locked in the holding area before anyone entered the main pen. There were 2 gates, 2 locks, 2 fail-safes. So what went wrong? Investigators interviewed staff, reviewed procedures, inspected the enclosure. They found no mechanical failures. The gates worked, the locks functioned. There was no structural defect that forced the tragedy, which left only one conclusion: human error. Dianna had either failed to properly secure Cous Cous in the holding area, or she had entered the enclosure believing he was locked away when he wasn't. Maybe she was distracted. Maybe she was in a hurry. Maybe she misread the situation. No one would ever know for sure. What they did know was that Cous Cous had not escaped. He had not broken through a fence. He had not ambushed her. He was exactly where he was supposed to be, in his enclosure. And Dianna had walked in with him. The news spread like wildfire. Intern killed by lion at California sanctuary. Big cat mauls worker to death. Cous Cous the lion attacks and kills volunteer. Headlines screamed across every major outlet. The story was sensational, tragic, and deeply unsettling. Photos of Dianna smiling beside lions. Images of Cat Haven's beautiful grounds. And chilling descriptions of the attack flooded social media. Some people mourned her as a hero, a young woman who died doing what she loved. Others blamed her, calling her reckless and naive. And still others blamed the sanctuary, demanding it be shut down, the animals relocated or euthanized. The backlash was swift and brutal. Animal rights activists argued that no one should keep big cats in captivity at all. Exotic animal advocates fired back, insisting that sanctuaries like Cat Haven were essential for rescuing animals that had nowhere else to go. And in the middle of it all, one question lingered. What would happen to Cous Cous? Dale Anderson, the sanctuary's founder, was devastated. He had known Dianna personally, had mentored her, had trusted her with his life's work, and now she was dead, killed by one of his animals. The guilt was crushing, but the decision ahead was even worse. Cous Cous had killed a human being. Under California law, any animal involved in a fatal attack could be euthanized. But Cous Cous hadn't escaped. He hadn't hunted Dianna down. He had simply acted on instinct when a human entered his territory. Was that his fault? Or was it ours? Dale wrestled with the choice for days. He consulted with staff, veterinarians, and animal behavior experts. Some argued that Cous Cous was too dangerous to keep. Once a lion tastes human blood, they said, the risk is too great. Others insisted that the lion had done nothing wrong. He was a predator. He did what predators do. Ultimately, Dale made a decision that would haunt him forever. Cous Cous would not be euthanized. He would remain at Cat Haven, isolated from human contact, a living reminder of the thin line between respect and tragedy. Dianna's family was shattered. Her mother, father, and siblings struggled to make sense of a death that felt both shocking and inevitable. She had always loved animals. She had always known the risks. And yet, they never imagined it would end like this. At her memorial service, friends and colleagues shared stories of her kindness, her dedication, her fearless heart. They called her brave. They called her passionate. They called her irreplaceable. But beneath the tributes and tears, there was an uncomfortable truth. Dianna Hanson had died because she made a mistake, a single, split-second error in judgment that cost her everything. And no amount of love for animals, no amount of good intentions could change that. In the years since her death, Cat Haven has continued to operate, though the shadow of March 6, 2013 still lingers. New protocols were implemented. Additional training was mandated. And Dianna's story became a cautionary tale whispered among interns and volunteers at sanctuaries around the world. Love is not enough. Passion is not enough. Respect is not enough. When you work with predators, there is no margin for error, no second chances, no room for assumptions. One mistake, and you're gone. Cous Cous lived for several more years after the attack, growing older and quieter, his days filled with the same routine of meals and solitude. Staff members cared for him from a distance, never forgetting what he had done, but never blaming him either. He was a lion, and lions kill. That is their nature. That is their truth. Dianna Hanson wanted to save the wild. She wanted to protect the forgotten, the misunderstood, the ones nobody else cared about. And in a way, she did. Her death forced the world to confront a hard reality, that no matter how much we love them, no matter how close we get, wild animals are not ours to control. They are not ours to tame. They are ours to respect from a distance with humility and caution. Because the moment we forget that, the moment we let our guard down, nature reminds us who is really in charge. Dianna's dream didn't die in that enclosure, but she did. And the lion who killed her will carry her memory in the blood-stained dirt where she fell, a silent testament to the cost of loving something that was never meant to be loved up close.